Dope, dope. All right, guys, welcome back. Um, we are now here with Matthew, Mason. Um, guys, you guys have been such a big part of my journey, my brand, my business, my websites, my like just life in general. So, it's a pleasure to have you guys on. It's an honor to have you guys on. Um, I didn't tell Mason that you were coming, but you're here now, and we were just talking briefly about the um, just uh, we all have a similarity with caring about the people that we work with, and I would say almost going the extra mile, not just like providing one simple service, more so of like just generally helping our clients become better, whatever it is. So you guys have helped me become better on my journey. Um, and so I would love to hear how you approach your design process. And um, yeah, I would love to hear about your design process and how
Yeah.
you treat your clients and your community. Um, and you can give a brief intro if you want, or a brief, but I just want to keep it conversational. But you could tell people who you are.
Yeah. Just a little brief about myself. So, Moose LA is my boutique agency. Um, but that name just stuck all the way since I was 10, over 2 decades. So it made sense to have that as a business name. But what I provide is I provide, you know, just best in class marketing services, all the way from the design process to the website, branding, all those types of things. I think what the knowledge and the experience that I have today wouldn't I wouldn't have gone this far without the people that I've like crossed my journeys and stuff like that, and like the people I worked with in the past. A lot of knowledge, especially on the designing. Like I didn't take a design class. I went to school for business marketing. Got a degree for that and minor in economics. So in that sense, like um, more of design's always been something that I've been around, especially in like advertising, commercial. Being a '90s kid, watching a lot of like Cartoon Network and stuff like that. So seeing a lot of like the different animations and how things are marketed and watching movies. I think that's like pretty interesting. And so yeah, my design process, it's really looking at it from a perspective of like I guess like the client's eyes. I try not to get too caught up on like the actual aesthetic of it. It's mainly providing those solutions, and in this case, a solution base is providing that design, whether it's packaging, whether it's UX UI design on the website, whether it's email designs, um, those type of things. I always try to listen to my clients and provide those type of solutions, doing the research, doing yeah, everything from like just the fundamentals of design. But I think how I started my design journey was literally just messing around with Photoshop and Illustrator over time, and just kind of just going on YouTube, tutorials and stuff like that, and also just learning from other designers. I think that's what makes it great. I think design is very subjective, and so when you take it from that perspective, you could kind of create anything or just use what's already been around and just kind of piece things together. And so yeah, I think designing hasn't been really traditional for me, but it has been very beneficial like service that I offer to my clients. But yeah, I think like what's cool about it is like you build these relationships with these people, and we're all trying to do something that's like greater than us and create those purposes. And I think providing those solutions on a design perspective is pretty great, because you could talk the talk and you could like show the analytics, you could do those things, but I think a lot of people are like very visual, and to be able to create a logo or create a very beautiful aesthetic website, or some email marketing campaigns, like to address those messaging points and provide those information, visually, is it's always been like such a satisfying feeling. But also, you know, part of that design process has been great. I love that, from research to having those discovery calls with my clients, doing the research, getting those like inspiration, going to the park or just kind of like going for a workout or just kind of sitting there and not thinking and be able to like come up with these ideas and just kind of just attack it, and then when you create some cool stuff, you have some options, you present to your client, they love it. That's all great in there. And then you just kind of critique it. You get, you know, final version 10 at some points, or you get final version number one, which is great. But, again, it's like what you may think it's like aesthetically pleasing, the client may not, or the customer may not, or, those type of things. But I think like for that whole process, I enjoy like the journey, and I enjoy bringing my clients part of that journey, being like a collaborative effort. I think when I was going to school for marketing, a lot of my projects, a lot of my case studies, I worked with other students, and I always had a collaborative approach. Being, you know, I've been like a student athlete when I was in high school, playing football, and in college, playing rugby. Collaborative effort. You're out in the field, you win, you lose together. And same thing, I take that approach and bring it into like my services. Like, we're a team, and that type of mentality. So if I need to go the extra mile, if I gotta stay up till midnight to meet those deliverables for when I have to present these designs, or making sure that we meet these deadlines, I take a lot of that seriously, and my clients understand that. And it's always been such a like synergy type of approach and a collaborative effort. So it's like, it's not only more of like a monetary service where it's like, all right, I pay you, you just do your thing. It's more of like, hey, contribute, understand my process, understand why we came about this final version, whatever it is. And that's how my approach has always been. It hasn't really been like by the books or by school. It's because I didn't learn it that way. I learned the fundamentals of business and marketing, but I use that to visually translate it using softwares, Illustrator, Photoshop. My newest most favorite right now is Figma. And so it basically has the best of the both. And I know we've been using Figma a lot. And so, but yeah, I think, in that perspective, I've always just tried to, bring my clients part of that journey, and, we make some cool stuff. And then from there, we just continue to, bang out great ideas and, designs. But yeah, I definitely love that process, and, it actually gives me like purpose in my life, at least. And, and I hope I provide like those type of, you know very similar, feelings, like how my clients, I think that's something that's like been very unique, is like being able to help out people. um Sometimes it's like hard to create something visually when you have it in your mind, and to have someone to be able to do that, it's kind of rewarding, it's kind of like great. Because sometimes you could just like try to describe it as best as you can, but we're all visual learners. We all have TVs at home. We all have devices that we consume all this content, and to be able to, meet that medium in the middle. But yeah, I think, yeah, my process is very, you know, from the conceptualization to the actual creating the designs, the prototypes, the iterations, the versions, all the way to the very end, and delivering it, depending on whether it's an email design, whether it's a website landing page, whether it's a packaging design. Like, I just been around design so much, and different types of, mediums, whether it's print or digital. And to me, the technical part of thing, I'm a very technical person. So in that sense, uh like, yeah, just know how to get to the fine comb things of it, but also be able to translate it very easily to the client, and making sure that they get what they need. whether it's again like a website, email, packaging design, like honestly anything. I could kind of create anything. I think, but it's also kind of like a two-part system where it's like I also need assistance from whoever I'm helping, because you could kind of create anything, but it's like you got to have that direction. So yeah, I think that's kind of like a little bit of my process, on that design front.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound like it's a just linear process. It could go any kind of way, and you guys have a very similar. I mean, I guess that is that just the design process from your end. Like, was what he was saying. Does that resonate on your side at all?
Yeah, I think there's definitely core some core things or processes that align. I think. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Actually, can you turn yours too a little
Yeah,
bit?
I'm gonna turn mine.
There you go.
Is that okay? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely think there's some things that align in terms of processes and philosophies. I think one of the things, and this might be because we're both self taught, we don't have formal design schooling.
Hmm.
So we're not necessarily limited to a certain belief system or, I guess, set of rules. We're really just trying to deliver the best solution to clients.
Mm.
And I think tackling it from like a problem solving perspective is always, I guess, well, in my opinion, like the best way to look at it, especially when you're dealing with businesses. When you're just within the context, and we kind of talked about this earlier, David, but like the corporate context, you're more worried about just designing something cool and designing something that's within the guidelines of the brand, but like the best possible like aesthetic thing.
Mhm.
And all of the audience and all of those like nuances are all ironed out already when you're working with a big brand. But when you're working with a business owner, you have to like tease that out. That's not always inherent. Like you need to communicate properly with whoever your stakeholder is, whether that's the business owner, whether that's a COO, or however the business is structured, to get that information out of them. And I think as a creative, that is one of your most important jobs when you're freelancing and working with small businesses is how can I empower my stakeholder to be able to think creatively enough to get their ideas communicated in a way that I can tactically execute on.
Mm.
So it's not just about what my opinion is in terms of as the subject matter expert, like I'm the designer, so I'm going to design you something that I think is great for you, right?
Mhm.
It's how can I communicate and get that content and that passion and that ideation out of you specifically so that then I can go back, train that with my expertise and my experience and deliver something
Mm.
that's going to appeal to your eventual target audience.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. When I first thought of an idea, thought of a product, I I thought it was like a chat GPT. Here, let me give you my what I want, and then just like here you go, spit it out, and this is your product. And that's what going into it. That's what I thought. So I've learned a lot from both of you guys actually on just the process of actually getting something that you not just like visually, but like you enjoy all around. And um, yeah, I've learned a lot from both of you guys. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, with the design process, you guys not you have multiple clients at one time. How do you guys manage everybody else's like tasks and like like there's enough tasks as it is as far as your own life. How do you add in all the tasks that go with that and manage that? Like what's your time management process like? and I'll leave it open to either one.
Um,
I know it changes, but
I'll
like,
take a stab at it first.
yeah, what's it like now? Yeah, what's your time management like now?
Yeah, I think, as you go through life in different stages, your dynamic and your routines like always change. Currently mine, it's working out in the morning, getting my mind cleared, my body ready to kind of have that enough energy to get through the day. Um, and the way I'm always attacking my emails first, kind of seeing what's any urgent, anything from the client that I reach out or anything like that. And then I use this app called Notion where it kind of shows like all the different tasks and different projects that are kind of running in the background. I think with like in terms of design, as of right now, my load hasn't been design heavy. It's been more marketing, more advertising. So it's a little different. In prior, clients that I had in circulation, a lot of it was design centric. So the services were pretty streamlined. Like if I knew that I had, you know, three or four, email designs to work on, I already have like a pre template that I would work off of, whether it's in Photoshop or in Figma. So it really fluctuates with who I have on retainer at the moment or who I'm working on a specific scope of work. But yeah, like as of just in right now, it's been a bit more on just like outside of the design process and design projects. But yeah, managing that, it's been helpful to use Notion because you have these biweekly, or at least I set my biweekly meetings and touch bases with the clients to ensure that there is like anything that needs to be reprioritized. So I like to use that process of like low, high, medium, and low priority, and then looking at from there, it's like what are my deadlines. So I really lean on like Google Calendar, and I like that because it's on my laptop, it's on my phone, it's pretty much like everywhere. So that way, it's like I'm the type of person. It's like if it's not in my calendar, I'm gonna kind of forget it in my mind because I'm so present in my life, and I'm present being the best son I could be, being the best boyfriend I could be, being the best human I could be. And so when you're so present, you kind of sometimes can't look back or you can't look forward, and you kind of because you're just trying to soak in life at the moment. And so I really lean on like, you know, Google Calendar to really help me kind of structure that alignment. And then Notion to kind of get into the details. If I'm working on deploying a new landing page for a client, I need to make sure I have ample time. So I like to, stretch that out. Like if I have a project that I'm working on, give myself at least 2 weeks. And within those 2 weeks, try to, take a stab at it every day. So that way it's fresh, but also I don't get fatigue or burnout. And so really utilizing, these apps that are in most cases free. And so obviously like, you have to do pay into it, but it does pay for itself. And yeah, I'm very like list type of guy, itinerary type of person. That's just how I am as a person. And so, utilizing those tools to really help structure my business and my life, I stay on top of, if I have a client meeting or a design or a project to work on, um, I utilize those tools to kind of help, create that structure. And yeah, so like, now it's just been very just like non-design. So it's a little bit more complex because in my design process, again, it's like if I know I have a X amount of designs to work on, then I know what softwares to use. If it's more of a illustration designs, I'm gonna use Illustrator. Some more print stuff, I'll use like InDesign. If like I'm working on a catalog or a magazine or something printable, it's good to know that okay, I'm gonna just focus like 3 4 hours on this software. Um, and I have all these shortcuts, so it's like it does help to kind of utilize those type of like shortcuts to kind of cut my time in half or have like templates that I can work off of, or if I don't have it, I'll download it. So I'm very the, like Adobe product type of person, or at least I use that as like my business. So I'm like having Adobe stock. Sometimes you don't have time to like create something from scratch, so you have to kind of work your magic, is what they say. And so, you know, I have these like things at my disposal that I could, tap into to be able to, cut my time in half, and depending on the need of the deadline or the client.
Does that ever get confusing with having so many tools to where um, maybe the tools can become distractions also?
In a sense, it could get a bit noisy. I think what I like to do, especially when I work out or, um, I like to kind of stretch out my days. Like, okay, let me create my own personal checklist in my mind, check my emails, check my calendars, um, check my Notion app, and see what, you know, let me build out my days. I like to really focus on my Mondays as like the day to kind of set the week, Wednesdays as my checkpoint, and Fridays to meet anything I need to meet in terms of deadlines. So I need to have those structures. It could be sometimes taxing and exhausting, but I try to keep my mind strong and keep my mind disciplined. And so it could get a little noisy where it's a little confusing because you're like, I got this meeting today, but I also got this deadline. And then you just see just, line items on your calendar, and it could get overwhelming sometimes. It does get stressful. But, I try to always take a step back, you know, a little 5, 10 minute just to kind of reset my mind and be like, okay, don't get overwhelmed. Just don't get confused. Like if you are confused, you know, try to take your steps back and why you put that into the calendar, or why what were these notes that you don't have. You try to find those answers. And so it could, especially with like, currently now, when you have a system in design, it could be very like not repetitive, but it could be very structured. It's like you already know, like, okay, I got to work on this, this, and that, and it's like checking off the list. But when you're working with, with my services, I offer web development, right? That process, if I'm creating what is it's called a CRO, which is conversion rate optimization, if I'm optimizing someone's e-commerce website, that could get a little confusing because it's like I have a strategy there, but then I'm working on another project for a Google ad for a service based business. They're not necessarily selling products, but it's selling services. So those could get, it has been a new challenge for me because I'm not going to say no to work. I'm a hustler, LA through and through. I'm going to say yes to most work, but I am going to be honest with it. And if I don't know it, it depends how I feel on these discovery calls, calls, and I if I do accept this type of work, I'm gonna go 100% with it. But it sometimes could get a little confusing where you're like, oh wait, no, I'm actually thinking about this, then that. But it's up to me to make sure I write, my notes down, and I look into Notion. I have these like notes that I'm like, okay, these are like little footnotes, um, and then having those calendars to remind me an hour before, 2 hours before the meeting or before this, and it's like, hey, in 2 hours, make sure you lock in and work on this. And so that structure has been working for me, and it has helped me keep my mind on check, and then just making sure that like I'm nurturing my body so I can make sure I'm staying focused and I don't get confused or I don't forget or anything like that.
Gotcha. Mace, how is your approach to handling multiple projects and multiple requests, and it's a lot. How do you manage all that?
Yeah, so I block my time in terms of value. So what blocks of my time am I going to get the most value of my time? So for example, like if I have a day where I'm waking up at 6 a.m. and my first meeting's at 6 a.m. and I don't have a break until 10, I'm going to block that time as meeting time. And even if I have a 2 hour break from 10 to 12, I'm not going to design in that time because I know I'm going to be locked in a completely different headspace in terms of client execution and talking strategically. I'm not going to be the most creative. So a lot of times I'll block my design time. So when I have clients who are in heavy design processes, so whether it's like logos or packaging or like any of that, I always plan out check-ins with my clients in terms of like, okay, on this day we're going to do this first review. On this day we're going to do the second review. And then within that time, I will then block out time for myself. So, for example, like for the meeting example, if I don't have a block of like 3 hours, I'll just push it until like 11. And I'll do my design work and optimize, or like 10 to 1. And obviously I'm at a spot in my life where I'm able to do that because I don't have any other priorities, family, kids, stuff like that. So I'm able to be flexible with my time like that. But because I'm really focused on that optimization and what I'm getting out of my time, I don't like to try and force things into slots. So if I know I'm not going to be creative in like 2 hours between meeting 1 and meeting 2, I'm just not going to do that. And I'll fill that time with something that will be more valuable to me. So whether it's a workout, or it could just be more planning or more organizational stuff. It could just be scheduling. It could be whatever that's going to be more analytical in the sense. And then I open up my creative time, and then I'll just, in those blocks, I'll prioritize, okay, I have packaging review 1 on this date. I have logo due. I have social content due, whatever it is. And I'll prioritize that block. So whatever I get done in that block gets done in level of priority. And then if I have anything left over, I'll just schedule in another creative block.
Okay. So you hello? Okay. So you said you prioritize it by value. Um and the value is what you can get out of the time that you're spending, or
Yeah, so I'm just optimizing how much, if I think work-wise, right, or creatively, what block of time in my day am I going to get the most value? Because I could sit down and say I'm going to design for 6 hours. I might only maximize 3 hours of that because I'm not going to be thinking creatively for that entire time, or I might need a break, or I might need something to reset myself, whether it's a walk or a workout or something that's going to force me to be present so I can take a step back and then come back. So if I don't think, I'm not just going to set time because I know I need X amount of time to complete a task, right? But I'm going to say I can maximize these 2 hours rather than take 4 hours on it. So
Okay.
I try to maximize my time in that way where, like, I'm going to group all my meetings together if I can, right? Because I'm going to be in the same type of headspace to do that. So I try to just condense things where I can, prioritization wise too. Meetings all on the same if not all the same day in the same time range, right? So from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. meetings, or from 3 to 5 meetings. And then I'll find blocks within that for creative time. So it's more about like optimizing when I feel like I can be the most impactful in my work so that I'm not wasting time. So then that's when I realized like I have a lot more time than I thought I did. Because it's one thing to like feel busy all the time. And then there's another thing to be actually getting stuff done within the time that you're allotting. Because I would find myself like taking a meeting and then trying to do design work and not really getting anywhere for like an hour. And I'm like, oh, I'm so busy. I used that hour. Like now I'm hopping on my next meeting. And then I'd get off meetings for the day and I'd be like, I can't really use any of this, or I can, but it's not my best creative work. So I was like, why am I even using that time for design? Like, I just need to block out time where I can only focus on design. I don't have to be thinking about in the back of my mind, how am I going to prep for this next meeting, right? And then I really only have 45 minutes to do design work. And it's kind of hard to contextually like just flip and then immediately be creative, especially when you're thinking about projects where you don't have hard guidelines. So when you're dealing with like small clients and stuff like that, like we kind of talked about earlier, you don't have all of these hard guidelines of that are imposed like a corporate company would have. So you have to do more critical thinking to get to where your end solution or problem will be solved. You almost need more time to do it, or more intentional time rather.
Gotcha. How long did it take for you to realize that um, you gave the example of meeting, try to be creative, meeting doesn't really, how long did it take for you to actually realize that?
I think it was actually fairly quick. It just took me a while to learn how to implement it properly. Because I always knew that, I mean, most of us can tell when we're distracted while we're doing something, or if we're not like 100% into it. Like you'll be checking your phone like 15 minutes in, or you'll be thinking about something else and you're not fully like present in what you're doing. Most people are self-aware enough to at least know that they're doing that. So it's just the discipline of like, okay, how do I actually implement this into my schedule? Because knowing that I'm not optimizing like an hour of design work, I'd be like, okay, but what else am I going to do? Like, I feel like I'm not being productive if I'm not using this time. And realizing like, okay, if I take a walk, I'm not actively doing work, but this is making my next 3 hours twice as productive. So it's not just about using time to be busy, but using time to make sure that I'm lining it up and prepping properly for the next thing. And then that's how I figured it out that, okay, that's how I'm going to implement it. So even though I know, like, you might think, oh, why are you taking, like, everyone, when you're in your workaholic, like, push mode, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't have time to take a walk right now. I'm on to my next thing. But it's like, I'm really not giving 100% if I'm working right now. So let me take a break. Let me get fresh eyes on it when I come back. Let me reset. And then when I get there, I'm now locked in. I'm not like, thinking about something else. I do this the same thing even when I block out my design hours with timers. So I'm giving myself like 45 minutes or a certain period of active design time, and then I'll take a break. And then I'll come back to it and be like, with fresh eyes, and be like, and that break could be, I don't know, it could be reading a book for 15 minutes. It could be listening to some music. It could be still on the computer, but I'm just going to a different website and looking at some photos, scrolling my Instagram feed, whatever it is, coming back 15 minutes later and going, okay, now that I've not thought about it for 15 minutes, what do I still think this is the same best solution? Or is it, can I tweak this? Can I make it better?
Bro, I love using timers. I just started using them consistently. Um, and it's a game changer. Like I used to hate timers because it'd be like, oh shit, I'm sitting here just watching the clock.
Yeah.
But now I know how long things take. So if it's a task that I do all the time, now I know that, oh, this takes 8 minutes. Like now, if I have a 10-minute window, I can knock out this low priority task or this low low effort task.
Yeah.
So whenever I have a gap of like, I try to separate things by yes, priority, but also how much energy it takes. Do like how you said, if you need to be in like a creative mode, like I try to separate the task by like how much energy is this going to take. And then if I have a hour gap and I have all these things that are low effort or low energy costing, then I'll just take care of that whole list and just knock it all out. Um, and yes, but timers have been a game changer. Game changer. You have a similar approach as well, right? Like with um, like bunching up uh time or bunching up creative time, or like how do you separate your day with
Yeah, I think for my process, I again working out in the morning definitely helps get me that energy. But very similar to like Mason's approach as well. It's like if I am focusing on a design, right? Sometimes you're been working on this type of design, whether depending how complex it is, right? For an example, like I was working on a wireframe for a client, and I'm looking at this homepage wireframe for many weeks, and sometimes you don't see certain things. So like, because you've been looking at that, it could be something so small, whether it's like a font that was like, a different font, because it's like maybe you're using like a sans serif, and it's like you realize that you didn't swap that font out, or there's a misspell or something, or there's something that you didn't see. But for my process is I like to, you know, I don't really use a timer approach, but I use more of just like, let me just take my eyes off of things for a second, and let me just clear my mind. Let me get a little reset, and then come back to it. And then you'll catch those errors, or you'll catch, that little thing. But yeah, my approach is like I try to snack throughout the day. I think and listen to music to kind of break away, and it does help me a lot to kind of keep that energy going. Um, and then just like attack all these like little nuances, these little uh, tasks that are gonna help kind of just get away from my mind. I think I'm always like thinking like 10,000 things in my brain, or sometimes I'm like running 1,000 miles an hour, and I'm like, okay, let me send that email off. Let me send it. So I like to attack my day in the beginning of just like all these like little mini tasks. Let me just get clear it off my plate, because sometimes I would add a lot of stuff to my plate, and I've as of recently learned to just take, you know break them out apart, sprinkle it throughout the day or throughout the week. And so um yeah, I think for me it's been, waking up, tackling, you know that workout, eating a solid breakfast, going through my emails, looking at my calendar, seeing what I need to get done for the day, and then it's essentially time blocking without time blocking. It's just locking in when I need to lock in, and being 100% present on that work. And if I realize that my eyes are hurting, or I'm feeling a little like not engaged, then listen to some music that I really enjoy, you know, walk in my backyard or walk down the street real quick, you know, um, something to just kind of help reset that.
Gotcha. So your approach is more, all right, if I'm in work mode, doesn't matter what it is, I'm locked in, and then as soon as that battery's down, all right, time to go recharge and do something else.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much like all day, every day type of thing. I think for me, it's like I could work
Gotcha.
all day, to be honest. Like it's a different
Gotcha.
type of like energy you use than like at physical. So it's a mental thing. But
Mm.
if it's up to me, I would work many hours. But it's like that's just, something that like you don't need to. You got to be very efficient with the time that you have and the energy that you have. And so when I'm locked in, I try to get as much stuff done, and then I just disengage, and then
Yeah.
I'm back in it.
Nice. Interesting. Um, yeah, never thought of it like that. That's a cool approach. Mace, I don't know how much more time do you have today? Because I know you were, um,
I'm good.
you're good.
Yeah,
Okay,
I can
cool.
hang out.
I wanted to hear, um, because we all have, you know, hundreds of tasks that pop up at any given moment. How is both of you guys' approach to fitness? I heard you mention that get up in the morning, you just get it done. Mason, yours is more of a like, it sounded like it was more of a midday, but I want to hear a little bit more about how you fit in your health and wellness with all the madness of requests, deadlines, and what else do they call them, setbacks, and all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like how do you make time for Mason?
So one of the things that I started doing recently, because my schedule has gotten insane,
Yeah.
is I always set it to where right now my work day, or I should say work as in meetings, client calls, stuff like that, where I'm actively speaking to people, that's done as soon as my workout comes.
Mm.
So my workouts are normally now before I eat dinner. So around somewhere between 4 and 6.
Mm. Like,
Like if my last meeting's at 5, then I'll work out right after. And that helps me reset to be, I guess, like my workday is done. And then if I decide to do active design work, I view that as like, it's still work, but it's more like it's actual me working and it's not being in meetings. So it's like personal work rather than I need to be in front of a client having a conversation. So I use my workout time now as like okay, this is my time to decompress. This is my time to reset. So if I have dinner with someone after, with friends, with family, I'm not like dialed in work mode still. So I always set a buffer between like if I have a dinner and I know my last client call or my last meeting's at 3, I force a workout in between. So I'm not going from work to my next personal engagement.
mm,
And I think it also helps set boundaries around work times. So I'm fine being flexible for clients, of course, on a day-to-day basis if something's urgent, right? And I need to, let's just say I need to like fit a deadline in last minute or there's something that comes up, right? But if I have something set, like planned, I will set proper boundaries around that. So I know that okay, if my meetings end at 3, I have dinner at 6. Even though technically I have 3 hours of time, that time is going to be blocked.
mm,
Like that's non-negotiable, right? If I need to come in working something after dinner when I get back home at like 9 or 10, then I'll do that. But I'm going to specifically block my personal time because I know that even if I put a meeting in there, one, it's going to affect that dinner. And I'm not going to be as present at that because I'm going to be thinking about the meeting I just had.
mm,
Or I'm not going to be present in that meeting because I'm thinking about, oh, I have to get ready after this. I have to drive an hour in LA traffic to get to dinner,
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? So I feel those hard boundaries, even though initially, if you don't set them, they can be kind of hard to navigate for people. It helps bring the best version of myself, whether personal or business, to whatever I'm doing. So I try to make sure that those blocks that I was talking about enable me to be the best version of myself,
mm.
either in front of clients or in front of friends and family. So I would say like that's the main, I think, like day-to-day wellness, like personal input is like making sure you set, and I guess another thing, you have to set those expectations with your clients in the beginning. You know, how long does it take to execute something? How long does it take? Because they're going to start normalizing to whatever precedent you set, right? If it takes me a week to design something, they're going to expect that it's going to take a week, right? If I say it took me 2 hours, they're going to expect it's 2 hours. So if they assign me something, they're going to expect 2 hours later, they're going to get a deliverable. So managing that as well, like even if I know it's going to take me 6 like active design hours or around ballpark it, right? I'm still going to say this might take 4 days to deliver. Or if I get it on Monday, deliver it by Friday, right?
Mm,
And I'll split up those 6 hours to optimize it. I'll split up those 6 hours based on other clients' priorities. But if I say like I can get this done by end of day today and something comes up that was a higher priority before I got on the call, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now I have an issue, right? So it's making sure that I'm also weighing my schedule for potential hurdles, pitfalls, things like that. So if I have to say, because that whenever you're canceling something or you're changing your schedule last minute for anyone, it can cause like some friction. So I try to block specific and be intentional about blocking time around things as well.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. Can you go like say you set design hours, are you only focusing on one let's just say client design, or can you rotate between let's just say my project, another project in 3 hour design window? Can you do that?
Yeah, so I'll normally set it up by breaks. I'll
Okay.
split it up by breaks rather. So, but it's just about being in that creative like kind of flow.
Mm.
You'll get to a point, or at least I get to a point where it's like you're just churning. Like you get to a point where it's like everything seems like I know everything's clear. Like you reach a point of clarity, I guess, when you know that you can be present with your creative work. It doesn't really matter what project, and that's why, well, I said it doesn't matter to me because I specifically put in the time in the other hours to be intentional about prep,
Mm.
right? So desk research, like industry research, right? Just Googling, analyzing. It could be data, it could be consumer behavior, it could be target audience, it could be competitors, right? Analyzing all that in my analytical hours helps inform me for those 3 hours. So I'm not going, okay, what client am I on? Okay, I'm on David's stuff. So I got to go into like my lifestyle, hair care, men's wellness brain, and then attack it and then pivot to all of that prep is done beforehand. So I know, okay, I'm on David's stuff. This is the lane I'm in.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm on client X stuff. This is the lane I'm in.
Gotcha. That's dope. That's dope. Um, damn, that's dope. Yeah. How do you fit in your wellness time? Your is it strictly morning, or do you do anything in the afternoons? Or because if I've seen you reply to an email at like midnight, like, so is that part of your work mode too? If you have the energy, you're gonna do it. If you don't, you're gonna take a break. Like, how do you fit in? How do you make sure you get enough time for yourself?
Yeah, so for me, it's like I, as of recent, I switched my schedule to mornings. I used to work out in the afternoons, and so in the past month now that I've been doing in the mornings, I just for me, it's like I guess when you know, when I used to play sports and stuff, there was always that time block in the afternoon to work out. And so I'm so used to that type of routine. And but I've always been a morning person as well. So I like to take care of my wellness in the front end of things and just knock it out the way.
Mm.
I think if I'm working out, I'm not thinking of anything but my body, what I'm trying to build. You know, before when I used to work out, I used to work out for sports. I used to work out to build muscle, to have that endurance, to be able to compete in those type of environments. And now I'm just doing it for more of my well being, making sure that I'm fit for my age and those type of things. So when I wake up, I have nothing on my mind but working out, being present. So it's getting up, getting to the gym, tackling those workouts. Um, I do a combination of calisthenics and uh, kettlebells workouts. So it's very fast, very hit. So about an hour, hour and a half of time. Come home, do another reset, shower. That's where I get a lot of my inspiration in the shower, and just kind of like set those mental blocks in my mind, and then again just look into that calendar and just kind of start tackling what I have, in that approach. A lot of it is just mainly just, yeah, taking the time to really look at what I need to get done, um and just tackling one thing at a time. If I don't get through certain emails, or there's things that come up that, you know especially, like, yeah, I'll be replying to you at midnight, because sometimes a lot of the times I'm waiting on clients to respond back to get some design, approvals or things like that. And I try not to like chase too much. I understand everyone's busy, so in times where I think we build a good relationship where we could reach out to us kind of almost instantaneously through any type of form of communication. I know when we are always on calls, I'm always like, I'm a phone call away, text, email. I want to be readily available, because that's what differentiates my services from a lot of other companies and a lot of other entrepreneurs. They try to create a business structure, 9 to 5. I'm available from Monday through Friday at these hours, but I feel like I am part of your business and other clients' business as like their in-house designer or web developer or web designer, and so I try to create these different relationship dynamics so that way I can meet those needs. And sometimes I'll be reaching out so late, or what I'll do is I'll reach out late, or I'll type out these emails and then I'll schedule send them so I don't look crazy at like midnight.
I do that all the
Uh,
time. Yeah.
So it's like
Send them at 8 a.m. the next morning. You know you're writing
exactly.
them at 12
Yeah.
a.m.
But it's like you think but it's because I know tomorrow's gonna be a busy day.
right.
I don't have time for those emails, but I'm available right now. I tend to be more on my emails than on TikTok or any social media. And when I'm scrolling at night, I'm just like, what other 10,000 things I didn't do? And so I like to really just have that clear mindset in the morning, take care of myself before I get into anything. I feel like if I'm feeling, fatigue or like tired or anything like that, I don't like. It's hard to really like stay in that creative mindset and hard to be very present. So, yeah, having taken care of myself first before I help others, I felt like it's been more efficient. And that's something I developed over years. Before I would just like, yeah, I could do it, and then I'll experience burnout even when I have these time blocks. I could be like, I'm just tired, and like I'm not engaged. And we only have 24 hours in a day, but we're only awake like 12 to 13 hours a day. Well, if some people get 12 hours of sleep, some people get 10 hours of sleep. So I try to really maximize that time. And so mornings, take care of myself, get into the meat of things. And then at the tail end, cook for myself. That's another way that's therapeutic for me, but I also enjoy cooking. And so that's another way to kind of like, I'm going to try this recipe today. I'm going to do my research. Um, and so yeah, and then just like being present with the people around me and being really, in those type of engagements. But yeah, it's a process to kind of, take care of myself in the front end of the day, take care of myself at the back end of the day, and then at the tail end of the night, I always look at what worked today and what didn't work. What could I do to be better tomorrow? And then tackle it another day. It's a new day to conquer. And it's very day driven, but in my overall structural goal, it's very, you know, week by week, month by month, quarter by quarter, annual. Like it's very structured, but on my day to day, I know me as a person, I'm very like present. So I need to like be present with myself, take care of myself first, tackle what I need to tackle. And then at the end, be like, all right, we survived this. We survived the day. What did I do good? What didn't I do good? What could I bring on to tomorrow? And what are the learnings from today that I could also get better at?
Dope, dope. All right. We're back. We're back. We're back. Um, so Matthew, we did a calisthenics workout that you put me through. How did you come up with calisthenics, and how do you feel training calisthenics? How's your body feel, I should say?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Uh, like body wise, like even like how my figure kind of changed doing calisthenics. Uh, the way it came about, I think I was doing too much weight training, and I was kind of getting injured, like shoulder injuries, knee injuries, And so I felt like, okay, well, I'm getting older. I probably don't need to be benching, my weight or squatting or deadlifting. Like I probably shouldn't be utilizing this. Like for what? Like why? I'm not trying to get that. I'm not trying to build my body that way. So I started doing some research, um, and I found just various videos on like hit workouts. So I started just doing them at the gym, and I found out they were called calisthenics. So it's just I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like this is calisthenic workouts. Just really training my body, really being mindful about those type of exercises you do. Your breathing, doing the full motion, maximizing that full stretch or that full exercise, and doing those repetitions like 100% accurate. And so I felt like I was being very productive on my workouts. Before I used to break out my workouts to I'm gonna do a upper body today, and I'm gonna do lower body tomorrow, and then I'll squeeze in some cardio. I felt like was breaking that type of bodybuilding differently, and sometimes I'll get injured like randomly. I realized my knees were getting a little weak. I went for like I grabbed something from the ground and like my knee was hurting or something. And so yeah, I started looking at like a solution, found calisthenics, started implementing it on the day to day, and it really worked out for me because it allows me to be present on these workouts, and they maximize my time. I could get a full body workout in 45 minutes, which is great for me because I'm a busy guy. And I have so much things to do, and I don't have time to spend 2 to 3 hours to work on my upper body one day at the gym, and then the next day work on my lower body. I was taking too much time at the gym, and so as I started learning these calisthenic workouts over the years, I really started putting my body in different mobility workouts that I've never really done before. A lot of it was very stationary, very static, and now I'm like, doing my obliques and doing, different various types of exercises that I started getting stronger in certain elements, and a lot of it is body weight. You'd be surprised a lot of people can't really like do a push up or a pull up, and I could do it because like I worked on it, and it's hard. It's definitely being mindful about breathing and those types of exercises. So implementing them at the gym was one of them, over time. And then yeah, I think when we we started working on it together, it was pretty cool process to kind of just show you some of the workouts that I do, uh and and essentially like teach you, or at least like I'm sure some of them you already like done before, but to be able to learn something different and be able to teach someone else, it was not only like fulfilling but rewarding. And then seeing how like your body was responsive to that type of workout, and I felt like with that 30-minute workout, it was pretty solid. Um, and yeah, it was just again just taking the time to just like being able to really find something different that wasn't taught to me from like these athletic programs that I was part of, and something that I kind of like learned out in the world, essentially, and like from other people, and just like you know just implementing it myself, and fitting it within my routine and my new goals. For me, it's like I want to be strong enough that I anything, I don't know, zombie apocalypse, like a run from a zombie, something crazy. It's a conspiracy, but like anything, like I just want to be able to just like feel comfortable in my own body. And yeah, it was like a new thing for me that I found, and it stuck. It worked with my schedule. It really maximized the time. It really helped me be very present on those type of workouts, not trying to rush it, trying to just really be focused on it. And being able to work out together was really like dope to do. And yeah, it was like great all around. But I'm not a professional or anything like that, but it's
Yeah.
just something that I'm very like an advocate of.
Oh, that's dope. How on average, how many days are you doing that
So I work out 3 to 4 times a day.
a
Or sorry,
day?
sorry, a week. 3 to 4 times a week. About an hour or hour and a half um time within those days. So
Gotcha. What do you guys notice a difference between when you weren't intentional about your workouts versus now? Because you guys both are very intentional with getting something in to either relieve pressure of the day or to simply get a workout in and take care of yourself before the day. What's the biggest difference that you guys have noticed in taking care of yourself versus putting it last?
I think it's for sure energy, like your energy levels. Um, I do my workout later in the day now. It's just has worked out for me that way. But I think even then, um, and of course, diet has affected this a lot, and they're kind of hand in hand. But um, not feeling lethargic at like certain points in the day, like and not having those like crashes as much. I know it also like mentally, I think is the biggest thing is it refreshes you. Like when I finish a workout, I'm ready for that next thing in my day. So especially if, like I said, it's at the end of my work day and I'm ready for like my personal time now. Like I'm that much more present. So I think just from a basic energy level situation, it's like I'm less tired. And whether that is physical like fatigue or mental fatigue, I think it helps both.
Mm, I like that. Same for you.
yeah, pretty aligned on that. For me as well, it's like being able to get that energy that I need to get me through the day. And then I also use like that gym workout as like mental clarity and therapy. Sometimes if I'm frustrated, I'll just take it out on that workout.
Mm,
So it really helps me just take away those negative energies so I could be very optimistic and positive throughout the day. And having this like newer routine of working out, waking up early, feeling that like wow, I took care of this big task of mine and I took care of myself and taking that workout and just checking it out. Now I'm just like really focused and having that energy to get me through the day. And I'm not worrying about, okay, well, after I get through my work day, I got to still work out. And before it was like working out in the afternoons, it worked out for me, but now this like newer regimen is definitely different. And then yeah, aligning with like also just the dieting, you know, I kind of took out these toxins for my body. I no longer like consume alcohol or, you know, I don't like smoke or anything like that. So not putting bad things into my body has helped me a lot. And I'm starting to see more results that I probably would have not seen before because it's like you do two good things and then you consume this and then it's like a drawback. And I always had that constant struggle. And now it's just like eating organics, eating my protein, having those mount nourishing my body and with this newer routine and these newer workouts has really helped me like see my body different. I feel better. I'm more present. I'm super sober. And now I feel like I've been providing like best in class services, not only to like my clients, but just the people around me. And yeah, it's just like I think you could have the best workouts or you could always be on top of working out. But if you don't have solid nutrition, what's the point? If you're out eating fast food and putting these GMO products into your body, those type of things, not getting the right appropriate carbs and protein intake, you're not gonna see muscle building. You're not gonna see any of those type of things. You're not gonna. So you're basically just being inefficient in your workouts. And so, yeah, I think just not only just getting the proper working out, but also getting the proper nutrients throughout the day. And like I said before, like I like snacking. I'm eating a protein bar, a banana, those type of things throughout the day because I need that potassium or I need that protein to get me through that next block or that next meeting. Um, and those type of things. But good.
You're right, Dave.
Yeah. I was actually listening to a podcast earlier from Joe Rogan, and this one this one guy was like coughing, and it's like that happens a lot.
I mean, it's natural.
It is,
It's
yeah.
natural. Oh man. Okay. Since I've known both of you guys have both had. I think you were a little heavier. You were definitely a lot heavier. So if you guys could um leave one message to like, Mason and Matthew, let's just say jumping into the design world, because obviously you guys have learned a lot from trial and error of like working too hard, putting too much effort here, or just playing around with the whole just uh just scheduling with life or whatever. Um, what's one either message or one lesson? No, what's one message you would send to yourself back when you first started to not necessarily skip some of that, because a lot of that is like, I mean, you are who you are because of what you learned, but like, what's maybe one message you would send to that person um, while they're starting out on their journey? And you can think about it. It's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I mean, like you're saying, like the things that you go through and mold yourself with, or you know, partially how you got there. But I think for me, the biggest thing is prioritizing myself just as much as I prioritize my work, prioritize my clients. It's really, I mean, it's super common to just be like, oh, it's work, so it takes precedent, right? Pays the bills, so it takes precedent. And being able to say, like, okay, if it's not that I don't have time for something, it's just that it doesn't matter enough to me for me to make time for it. So if something matters enough to me, I'm going to create time in my schedule, whatever that is, to make time for that thing. So before I wouldn't prioritize my health. And that could either be fitness, it could be nutrition, could be sleep, right? Whatever, wellness, holistically. And it was always like, well, I have to work, so I'm not gonna I'm gonna go to bed at 2. And I didn't have time today to prep my meal, so I'm just gonna eat out somewhere. Or I had a long week, so I'm gonna reward myself with with like a huge meal or something, right?
Yeah.
And it was always like that was the mindset. And now it's like, well, how do I actually feel? And I'm realizing, okay, the things that I was doing personally were actually having an influence on me professionally. So if I prioritize my personal well being, the type of person I can show up as for my clients, for my work, is much more focused, it's much more clear. And having that clarity and the ability to, communicate properly with my clients and be present is so much more, I guess, or my capacity for that has increased. Whereas before, a lot of it was like, oh, well, I'm exhausted because I decided to stay up till 2 a.m. binge watching Netflix. And I'm tired because I didn't get my workout in and I've just been kind of dragging the whole day. But being able to put myself first, right? Making sure that those things matter to me now, making sure I'm getting proper nutrition, proper my workouts in, my cardio in, like all of those things, because it does affect my work and you can't just replace it. Like it has to be there.
Yeah. It's so tough to put yourself first sometimes, especially you made a point about um oh well, it pays the bills. Like that's in a way taking care of yourself, right? Like taking care of your bills. So yeah, that's tough. But what about you?
At least for me, it's um I would tell myself like it's really not how you start, it's really how you ended up or finishing. And being mindful about that process, and also telling myself like it's okay to fail if need be. When I started my health journey, my career, I had no idea what was gonna happen, where it was gonna lead me. But I think staying curious and always optimizing is always gonna be like the best thing. If you know that you are working toward yourself every day, then you're always gonna, in a sense, get better. Even if there is setbacks, at least you're progressively moving forward. And so, yeah, it's really just again like I think that's a theme, is prioritizing yourself. Sometimes you do want to meet those expectations. You really want to deliver for those people, whether it's family or clients. But we always kind of tend to forget about ourselves. It could be something so simple as like, I forgot to eat, or I didn't eat today. I pushed it till like 2 3 p.m. And then I got to go get, you know, do my personal stuff, or I'll wait till dinner. And we always tend to kind of, or at least we just kind of forget to kind of put ourselves first. And it's okay to be selfish. And so, you know, I prioritize, for me and my journey, like I prioritize anything I put my mind to, I just make it happen. I wanted to be a designer. I am one. I wanted to get a degree. I got one, and those type of things. And it's like whatever you set your mind to, it's achievable. But finish what you start and enjoy that process. And everything else, life would just take its course, and like you just seize those opportunities and you optimize those opportunities. Whether it's optimizing your body, whether it's optimizing your time, your structure, prioritizing work, because it's a means, it's a financial stability. um it's part of our culture too. It's capitalism. You work hard, you build something, and you sometimes think this is the narrative, this is what you have to do. It's like, well, I gotta just provide, and you know put myself at, just don't even worry about myself. I just got to get the bread on the table. That's a mentality we don't have, and you got to look at it from a different perspective. And sometimes you can get caught up in that. And you know, when you start off in any journey you take, you got to be mindful about that. It's like, hey, like your perspectives are gonna change, but the goal doesn't. You got to still stand on that, and you got to enjoy that process. And if it's taking a step back, that's fine, but as long as it's still a progressively forward, and you don't know where you're going to end up at. And so, yeah, like, a lot of the where I am today, it's just putting myself forward to a certain extent, and prioritizing myself. As I got older, I realized that those friends that you had, that you put into, they're they're not going to be there because they're like focused on their own stuff. And those priorities you put into those people, they might not prioritize yourself. So you really got to bet on yourself every day. And you know to tell that younger person, like, just bet on yourself, continue what you started, and finish what you started, and enjoy the process, and just keep building on yourself, whatever that is. And really stay curious. Like, I was curious to learn new workouts. I was curious to eat organics and learn about these things, turn that label behind, and really learn about those nutritional values and those type of things. And keeping that curiosity is gonna keep you progressively forward. And it's a lot of message I will tell myself, because it's like it's not one thing, and it's a little tough to be like, yeah, just this and that's it. But it's so much that you have to essentially like message out a bit, so that way it's like you get a better understanding of like, okay, like I know what I have to do, and as long as I'm moving forward, those things that you put your mind to are going to be definitely achievable.
Yeah, I think that's powerful what you said. It's not just one thing. Um, yeah, I think that's what that would be my message.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing. Um,
Yeah, the path is never linear.
Mhm.
It's always dynamic.
Yeah.
And like when you're talking about investing in yourself, putting yourself first, staying curious, like optimization, like you have to, you might never know where the path is going to fork or end up, but you have to put the time and intentional like effort into the process so that whenever that path splits, forks, end up with a challenge or a hurdle in front of you, like you have the base and foundation. Because if you're always stretched too thin and you're trying to be as flexible as you can for everyone around you, oftentimes you're not showing up with the base to be able to solve the problem
Mm.
that's in front of you. It's all about like the learning, the development, the prep, and putting like being intentional with that so that when those moments come, you're ready to like you're able to tackle them properly. Otherwise, you're going to get to that moment, and you're going to be like, "Oh, I'm tired," or "Oh, I have this going on," or "Oh, I'm thinking about something else," and it's like you hadn't set up your foundation to be strong enough, and that setback might turn into something worse.
Yeah.
Whereas that could just be a speed bump.
It could be a speed bump. You could create these new like bad habits. I feel like when you don't really know things, you're scared, and it's like a lot of people kind of fall on that fear base. I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of traveling or afraid of this, and you create these like mental roadblocks. And so yeah, it just like really just looking at it from that like having that solid foundation super important and doing what you need to do so that way you learn as much as you can so that way you're not like in a sense operating on like on fear base and it's just like because yeah that's the whole point of like adversity. It's like there's always going to be challenges, financial challenges, anything. It's life. Anything could be thrown at you. We are all fortunate here to be healthy and working on our goals, and it's very inspiring to kind of being able to be where we're at today. But that comes from those foundational, blocks, those chipping away at it every day, building that our own empires, right? And coming together and sharing knowledge. And that's also another thing. It's like being able to have those circles, those people. I wouldn't be who I am today without the people that are in this room and the people that are outside. I am better because I surround myself with people better. And if I don't know it, you gotta like sometimes people live off of like that pride and it's like I'm not gonna I'll do it myself. Very just like me. And it's like,
Mm.
no, like we all live together in this world. Like let's put our efforts together. You might have problem solve something that I haven't embarked on just yet. And vice versa. So it's like part of life is also communicating that you need help and that you don't understand. And you ask those questions because you know yourself the best and you know what's wrong with you or you know what you need to get to. And we all help each other get where we need to get to, and it's not more for like, well, am I gonna get profit off of this or am I those type of things. Like gonna go back what I offer my clients is like what differentiates me from an agency is that you're not gonna get junior level talent. You're gonna get real world expertise. You're gonna get real world stuff, and I'm not gonna be like, well, if you want to learn that information, subscribe or like I'll charge you for this. It's like, no, I'm gonna give you some World War stuff and I'll be realistic, and that's just how it is. And the cost is the cost, or if we go this route, that's how it. That this are the possible outcomes, and I think being very transparent and honest with yourself and being honest with others takes you a long way. I feel like a lot of times people have those skeletons in their closet and they put on a front or a face and they're not real to themselves. So they create this mispersonification to the world. And then they learn that person. It's like at home, you are that person, you are this person, I am that person. And then we wear a lot of hats and sometimes it could get a little confusing and be like, this is who I am or this is who I have to be, and it's like that's not the case. It's more of like you get molded to the person you are, but also just, being as honest as you can. Cause you just, I feel like when you're an honest person, or at least be very like honest, it opens up more doors and then just communicating and it helps. take away that pride, take away that fear. And when you are faced with challenges, it doesn't seem so impossible, you know?
Mm. Right, right. Um, man. So, what is next for both of you guys? You guys are both creatives. What is coming up? You guys got anything you're excited about? What you're working on? Um, yeah. Anything exciting coming up?
Well, I do have a couple clients close to launch, so that's always an exciting thing when you get to see someone's dream, passion, project realized. I think that's always that moment of we've spent years, months, weeks, talking about it, and then getting to a point where like, yeah, someone can actually buy my product. That's always cool. But yeah, I mean, I've been busier lately because of a lot of travel, but that's been exciting too. Being able to travel for work is definitely a privilege that I didn't think I would be exposed to, or something I would have the privy of doing. So I think that's something for me that's exciting, and I hope to do more of. Um, but yeah, I think when you're on this like path, freelance path that we're on, I think you get to a point where the unknown and your ability to be flexible and things is just exciting, period.
Mm.
Like you're not necessarily excited about a certain thing, but it's just the opportunity, whatever your next project's going to bring, who's going to come across, knocking on your door about, hey, let's do this, let's do that. So I think that unknown is just exciting in itself too.
Nice, nice. You got anything coming up that you're willing to share?
Just a
This is
little,
public.
yeah, just a little sneak peek. Definitely
This
going
is-
to be doing a bit of a restructuring as a brand, as for my business. I feel like I kind of know exactly what kind of offerings I want to now do, and obviously more design centric. So yeah, it's exciting to kind of being able to be a small business and being able to pivot when needed. Um, yeah, it's exciting. It's just like the whole process of like building a new pricing model, building a new business structure. Um, those type of things are kind of like what gets me going, and it's like don't exactly know how it's gonna like really pan out in the next several years and stuff like that, but been putting a lot of effort in restructuring my business and being able to offer these more curated service basis for I think what is needed in the marketplace. um but yeah, if you like anyone that has like Amazon or websites like email marketing like efforts, those are going to be some stuff that I'm going to be like offering in terms of design wise, and providing that expertise. But yeah, it's just exciting to kind of really get more niche in my practice. I'm not an expert in all those things that I do, but I am a business person.
Mm.
But I want like with these new offerings, it's definitely going to be a little bit more curated and a little bit more. It's still going to be analytical based and sales based and results driven, but it's mainly going to be more design based. So yeah, it's just exciting to just be able to build something and being able to pivot when needed. And you know yeah, it's just like that, and coupled with there's some travel plans that I have personally that just like I haven't traveled for quite some time, so just been really like hustling in a sense. So I'm excited to kind of do some traveling on my own and just kind of disconnect a bit and spend time just really like learning new experiences and new journeys outside of the United States. So that's exciting as well, and just like yeah, just happy with life and being happy to just like do anything that we can with what we have. So those are some things in the pipeline, but yeah.
Yeah, traveling is dope, man. I think um, especially how Mason said on the business side. But traveling is great because it gives you a new, almost a new lens to look through. So once you do come back home, you have like this um, new lens to look at, whether it's your work, whether it's like you've seen a different side of the world that um, is not ordinary because we get used to the things we see every single day. So to go out and travel and see something new and see some people, I when I travel, I have this thing where, um, and I don't think I do it on purpose, but I think it's just something we do naturally. We kind of judge people, but not like judging and like I'm judging you, but like you almost have this picture of like what this person looks like or what they do based off of like how they look when you first see them.
Mm.
And then when you meet them or you talk to them and they're completely different. And I'm like, what was that? Like I don't know what that is, but that gets me to like turn that lens of like looking at something in a certain way off. It's like a refreshing kind of thing. I don't know if you have you ever done that? Like talk to someone and you're like, yo, this person's not anything like I thought this person would be. Have you ever had that experience? Or
I
is that
think,
just
I
me?
mean, no, I mean, in general, I think, or I should say, most people create these generalities around, it could be any category, right? It could be profession, it could be race, it could, I mean, there's so many things that you could put generalities around, and you think, oh, this person likes this particular thing because they do this, right? Like if I'm a creative and I'm going to assume like every other creative is obsessed with art and coffee and fashion, which is true to a degree,
To a degree, yeah.
but like isn't like it's not black and white. It's not like a yes or, like
Yeah.
everyone is like that. So
Mm,
I think figuring out like the nuances of people is just always fun to explore, regardless of what country you're in or profession you're in, or even in LA, what neighborhood you're in, right?
yeah.
And exploring that is, I think, as a creative, is always refreshing. But like also to double down on what kind of we're all saying is like do other things. Like whether that's just like
Yeah.
creative things like traveling. I mean, if you're a designer, like going to a gallery or a museum, looking at fine art, cooking, doing ceramics, like other creative pursuits help inform your worldview,
Mm,
which really help with your creative process, regardless of whether it's whatever your medium is.
yeah.
And like making sure that you try to experience as much. I mean, it could be in your own neighborhood, it could be down the street. Like that's why I've picked up like when I'm traveling like street photography so much, because it's just like how do I want to view this through my lens, right? I don't care about the composition. I don't care about the rules that I would follow normally with photography. I'm just going to take a snapshot of something. And when I review it later, it's just going to be how I saw it that day.
Mm,
But whatever that is for you, like making sure that you're exposing yourself to those things make you grow as a creative in general. And even if you're not a creative, like I've talked to you about this, David, like where you don't necessarily think in the same way we would as designers, but like exposing yourself to this process has changed the way you're thinking,
mhm.
has exposed you to other ways to think about things that you do personally as a barber, or like whether it's cooking for your family or like all the different things that you do in your life. So I think it's important for everyone to like get outside of your normal routine just to be able to explore a little bit, because it definitely is a game changer when it comes to how you view things and the lens you see things through.
Guys, I first of all, I really appreciate you guys coming through. I do think we have to do this again because we touched on a lot of good stuff, especially about the creative process, and I didn't really get to hear too much of like how. Actually, I got a little bit about how you approach your methods with clients, and we're all basically in a way in the service industry. We're servicing clients, we're servicing companies we're servicing, um, and I'm glad that you guys also have the same approach of really caring about your work and really caring about your clients, and now also caring about yourselves, not just putting um, everyone else in front of you. And so I would love to have you guys back on to kind of uh, even just check in of like how you guys are managing taking care of yourself, but also taking care of like other people, because we carry a lot. And so it's really cool to see that you guys are intentional about your time, about being present with friends, family, um, and it's really cool to see and really cool to grow together, because you guys have helped me out a ton. The amount of knowledge you guys have given me on the digital side of things is like incredible, and so like I said, I really appreciate you guys, and we got to check in again. Um, if you want, go ahead and give the camera a little like where can people find you guys, or like all that, like
Little plug.
a little plug, because I think what you guys do is great, and if I could do anything in my power to let other people know about that, I mean, that's what I do. So, if you want, go ahead and tell the camera your website and all that good stuff, and then I would love to have you guys back on one day.
Great. Well, yeah, check out my work at moose.la.
There it is. And Mason,
For
we'll get you
me,
together one day.
yeah, my social has been in loading progress for about 5 years, and my website has not been updated in a while. But you can find me at Nobuo, Nobuo Creative. Yeah.
Nice. Yo, we're all on the food kind of thing now. We got to put together a dinner or something.
Oh yeah,
Like,
for
Yeah,
sure.
down.
yeah. Um, yeah, I think that would be dope. Because yeah, we all collab on like the digital side of things, the business side of things. I would love to collab some more on the health side of things. And just sitting down breaking some bread. I think that would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I think that's all I got, man. There's a bunch of stuff that I probably skipped over, but uh, thank you guys. That's a wrap.